So, hello and welcome to episode 1 of Dear Sis Wisdom Nuggets. And if you're new and you don't know what that is, this is basically where I am sharing lessons that I've learned from experiences that I've gotten through in hopes that you can be empowered to know that you're not alone, so you can be equipped with tools and advice that can help you navigate through whatever you may be going through. So, for me, I experienced trauma, navigating through the process of healing from that. I experienced issues with self worth, low self esteem, jealousy, comparison, and all the other things that you experience growing up as a young girl and all the things that you navigate through as a young woman. And obviously, through that, there were lessons learned, wisdom gained that I am now sharing with you. Before anything else in this series, I need to address this. If you are desiring to see transformation, if you're desiring to see change, if you're desiring to walk in wholeness and be empowered and hopefully achieve the goals that you desire to achieve, which you are deserving of, you need to ensure that you have the right foundations. Your foundations basically is your mindset, your beliefs, your heart posture, what you believe, your mindset. You need to ensure that you have the right foundations. Without having the right foundations, no matter how much you build or no matter how much you try, things would just be really hard. It would be hard for you to actually really move forward. You would find yourself continuously experiencing the same roadblocks, or if you did achieve anything, it probably wouldn't be long lasting because you didn't build on a firm foundation that could actually carry what you desire to have. So there's a saying that goes like, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And there is another saying, there's another quote that says, sow a thought and you reap an action. Sow an act and you reap a habit. Sow a habit and you reap a character. Sow a character and you reap a destiny. And basically, what these quotes are implying is that your mindset, what you think, what you believe, will govern and influence your perception and your choices and will have an effect on the kind of life that you live. Your mind is so important. Your mindset and what you believe is important because it does influence your choices, and your choices will influence and have an impact on the quality of life that you live because it will impact the results that you see in your life. I just want to say that you cannot grow or rise beyond the level that your mindset is at. So, for example, if you have a limited mind or a mind governed by fear, chances are that you will have limited results or see limited results in your life and live a limited life. You may be someone who has desires and dreams and goals, and you are deserving of those dreams, you are deserving of those goals. But if you have a limited mind, you would find, or you may find, that you make choices based off of those limitations that could manifest in the form of procrastination or self sabotage or passing off opportunities that seem too good to be true. And as a result, in your life, seeing results that don't reflect or the goals that you desire to achieve, or seeing results that don't actually put you on the path to that healing or wholeness that you want, or the path to getting those goals. So it's so important that if you are desiring to be healed, if you're desiring to be whole, if you're desiring to achieve your goals and become empowered and be free from whatever you may be going through, or even be in a position to begin to be free, you need to transform your mind. You need to deal with your foundations. You need to transform your thinking. One way to determine whether you need to heal your foundations, if your mindset is faulty, if there's an issue with your way of thinking, whether it's that it's faulty or broken, or that you need to shift or pivot in the way that you think, because I do acknowledge not everyone is coming out of brokenness into wholeness. Some of you may be walking in a level of wholeness, but you are seeking to shift and go to that next level because we are lifelong learners. But one way to acknowledge that there is a need to transform your thinking, shift in your way of thinking, or heal it completely is if you find yourself going around the same mountain, and that you see the same negative cycles or the same cycles that are not what you want to see in your life, or you find yourself hitting the same wall, if you find yourself continuously seeing the same results in your life that actually is not what you want to see or puts you on the path to empowerment or wholeness or actually achieving your goals, it could indicate that there is a need to shift your thinking, renew your mind, pivot, or heal it completely. You may be like, okay, how do you go about actually, healing the mindset? What do you do? Well, I'm going to share a simple 4 step framework that you can apply to your life so you can begin to see transformation and change, so you can begin that journey of mind renewal and transformation. I just want to just make a disclaimer that obviously in regards to your mindset and beliefs and what you think, your heart posture, your foundations, basically there are many things that can influence that, such as what you have experienced growing up or what you've experienced in life. And obviously in future episodes I will go deeper into how to deal with those things, whether it be like going through healing or all these things. But just for episode 1, I wanted to keep it simple and literally just give you the base level. But just to share the framework, the 4 step framework, the first thing that you would do in, beginning to transform your mind and deal with your mind and heal your foundations is to accept that there is an issue with the way that you think and identify what that issue is. Because truth be told, you cannot correct an issue that you do not know exists or that you don't think is an issue. So the first thing would be to acknowledge that there is an issue, there is an error with the way that you think. Step 2 would be now to intentionally reject that way of thinking and come out of agreement with that negative way of thinking. So this is you saying to your brain that no, I am not going to think this way. I refuse to agree with this way of thinking. And so basically letting go of that way of thinking. Once you've done this and you've intentionally chosen to come out of agreement with that way of thinking and said to yourself, and therefore registering basically in your brain that you're not going to think this way anymore, now you would need to replace this way of thinking. And now it leads us into step 3, replacing that faulty way of thinking with a new way of thinking that facilitates healing, that empowers you. And once you've done that, the 4th step would be to enforce this way of thinking. Obviously, as you go on this journey of mind renewal, transforming your mind, renewing your mind, because you've thought in a way or acted in a way for so long prior, you may find that there will be times where old ways of thinking, old ways of decision making, acting may try to rise up. But in those moments when you are mindful to acknowledge that, it's so important that you refuse to partner with it, that you reject it, and once again reinforce the new way of thinking that you've purposed to think that enables you to see breakthrough, healing, and wholeness. It's kind of like building up a new muscle. And obviously at first it may be hard, so don't be discouraged. You just continue enforcing the new way of thinking. You'll find soon your mind will become more accustomed to this new way of thinking. Obviously, like I acknowledged before, there are other things, other factors that can affect your mindset, such as trauma, unforgiveness, all these other things that I will talk about in greater detail on how to heal and process through them in future episodes. So stay tuned. And so just to go through and run through this like framework with an example, you may be someone who has a negative perception of yourself. You may think that you're not enough. You may be someone that has dreams and goals, desires, but you just think you're not enough. And so the first thing that you would do is acknowledge that there's an issue, an error with the way that you think. You acknowledge that, oh yeah, I don't think that I'm good enough, and acknowledge that that's the wrong way of thinking. Then step 2, you would come out of agreement with that way of thinking, reject that way of thinking. And so you'd be like, I refuse to, I come out of agreement with that way of thinking that I'm not good enough. I reject that. I refuse to agree with that. I am not agreeing with that anymore. And you reject it, you put it off. And this leads you into step 3, replacing this with a way of thinking that leads to empowerment. And so you would come into agreement with the belief that I am good enough. I can do this. I am enough. And you would adopt that way of thinking. You would agree with that. I am enough. And you would enforce it. Where you may find that feelings of feeling not good enough or the thought would try to come up, you would reject it actively and reinforce the new way of thinking that I am good enough. And as you continually do that, it builds up that muscle, it will build up that belief, and it will eventually become your reality. And obviously, like I'm mentioning again, there are other factors that could influence that, whether if it was trauma or experiences. And in future episodes, I'll show how to identify that and deal with that. Yeah, so that's the framework. I just want to give the base level. That's the framework that you can begin to actually implement in your life right now, in regards to any area of your thinking that needs like healing or transformation or change. And yeah, begin the journey of beginning to, healing it and dealing with it. So yeah, do check out the Dear Sis podcast, which is available on all platforms, where I do talk about this in a lot more detail and go into it in a lot more detail. I obviously were on TikTok here, and so I just wanted to keep this a bit short and sweet. And for anyone who has and is going through, the journey of healing, wanting to be empowered, get to the next level, what things are you doing in regards to transforming your mindset? What things are you doing in order to heal your foundations and transform your mindset? Has it worked? Is it working? What worked? What didn't? If it didn't work, yeah, let me know. And yeah, stay tuned for the next episode.